Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Welcome to the show. My name is Matt Morris. Folks, in 20 minutes at 1 p.m. Eastern, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt is going to be coming out and talking to the media, answering questions and giving some massive information pertaining to what the Trump administration is doing. They're spinning a lot of plates right now, so we are going live, special emergency broadcast this morning for that. Now, while we wait, because we've got about 20 minutes, man, it has been an eventful morning. I'll tell you what, take a look at this. Various members of the Trump administration, including DHS Secretary Kristi Noem, spoke in front of Congress this morning, and things got absolutely heated, to say the least. Now, ladies and gentlemen, please make sure to go ahead and hit the like button, subscribe, follow. We are live right now on Rumble as well as on YouTube at Matt Morris TV. So please make sure, if you really, especially on YouTube, if you hit that like button, if you hit that subscribe button, the way the algorithm works, it helps a ton. So thank you very much. Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the show. I want to show you how this congressional session kicked off this morning, featuring one of our favorite people, Kristi Noem. Take a look at this.
I'm very privileged and honored today to have my family with me. I'd like to introduce them to you.
Disruptions of congressional business is a violation of law, is a criminal offense under federal law. Audience members are advised to take their seats and maintain order. The chairman may now ask Capitol Police to remove and arrest the persons creating the disturbance.
There's another one. They got another one in here.
Stop terrorizing our community. Get eyes off our streets. Stop terrorizing our community. Get eyes off our streets. Stop terrorizing our community.
Secretary, may
Chairman,
continue.
I'll continue.
So can you believe that? Rewind comes out dressed up as looks like a bishop, Catholic bishop. Correct me if I'm wrong. Member of the far left. Stop ICE raids code ping, whatever that says there at the bottom. They're wearing the pink hat. This is like the pink feminist women's rights hat that we saw sort of during the Hillary Clinton era, or at least looks like it. You've got the cross. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. Sacrilegious is what this is. And Kristi Noem, how does she handle it? She's just sitting here. Yeah, get him out of here. Yeah, get him out of here. We're going to deport you just like we are deporting all of these illegal aliens. Get the hell out of here. And then this was premeditated, you know, because the second they got rid of him, they had another one pop up. No ICE, no troops. No ICE, no troops. Get them out of here. You're probably getting deported out of the country. Unbelievable. And so anyway, that's how they got this congressional session kicked off. That's how they got this thing underway. Then we actually have the substance of the congressional session. Take a look at this.
It is a tragedy that never should have happened in the first place. That is exactly why I led my colleagues to push for this hearing.
We're talking about the terror attack in D.C. from the Afghani shooter.
Military service involves risks, and our service members accept those risks knowingly, selflessly. So we better be damn sure that the mission is the right one. That is clear, that it is a clear and effective mission, that it serves our national security. If we stand by while this administration pursues another irresponsible, open-ended campaign with no defined mission, no clear authorities, no set timeline, and no transparent end state, we fail our troops.
So let me ask you, is it in the national security interests of the United States of America to use the National Guard to police the streets of our most violent cities, stamping down on violent gang violence, violent gang-related violence, stamping down on illegal criminal cartel activity, or even worse, like literal jihadists, as we saw in D.C.? Yeah, I think it is. If it was up to me, I think if it was up to a lot of us, we'd have the National Guard on the streets of numerous cities, not just Washington, D.C. I believe they're in Memphis, Tennessee as well. we would have these guys, these brave men and women on the streets of numerous cities stamping down on crime. Correction, Tammy Duckworth. The Afghan savage should never have been in our country in the first place, but Biden flew him in. Still, they're trying to blame President Trump, but worse. But check this out, it gets even worse. Scumbag Benny G. Thompson, Congressional Representative Thompson, says the horrific attack on our two great National Guard heroes in D.C. was just another, quote, unfortunate accident.
Madam Secretary, you and the gentleman from NCTC reference the unfortunate accident that occurred with the National Guardsman being killed.
It wasn't an accident. It was a terror attack. To be clear, it was an entirely avoidable terror attack. It did not have to happen. It only did happen because Biden flew this individual into the country.
Think that was an unfortunate accident?
I mean,
It was a terrorist attack.
Wait. Look, I'll get it straight. Then you can
He shot our National Guardsman in the head.
Look, Mr. Chairman, will you direct the witness to allow me to ask my question?
Can I say it? Can I say it? He's got to ask the question. I'm trying to ask a question here.
It was an unfortunate situation.
Unfortunate accident. Okay, he walked it back. At first, it was an unfortunate accident. I don't know. How did the guy get in here? Was he a jihadist? I don't know. Was he from Afghanistan? Nobody knows. How did he get here? I don't know. Did he have a gun? I don't know. Did he pull the trigger? I don't know. Did he blow the brains out of a National Guardsman? I don't know. It seems like an accident. Dude, shut the hell up. This was anything but an accident. This was a terror attack brought to you by the Democrats, brought to you by Joe Biden. And now you are hand waving it saying, I don't know, whatever. Accidents happen. Whatever. Accidents happen. Dude, shut up. Everybody's favorite Democrat, Indian congressional representative, Shri Thanedar, who looks like a troll doll. He chimes in here.
I am sick of your lies. The American people are sick of these lies. American people demand truth.
America is very happy that finally they have a president in the White House that gets up every day to keep them safe.
Madam Secretary, your incompetence and your inability to truthfully carry out your duties of Secretary of Homeland Security, if you're not fired, will you resign?
Sir, I will consider your asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. Thank you very much.
I will consider the fact that you are asking me to resign as an endorsement of my work. What's the implication? Because you are so stupid. Because you are so stupid, Shri Thanedar, who I said looks like a troll doll. This is him real quick. Can we get a zoom in? Like, how is this even a real guy? How are you even a real guy? You're a real guy. You're a real person. Dude, what is going on here? Anyway, I will consider your disapproval a direct endorsement of my work because you are such an nincompoop. That's a real guy. Sorry, I'm dumbfounded. So anyway, Kristi Noem this morning, she showed up and she absolutely killed it. We also have news from Stephen Miller this morning. He said something interesting. He said that CNN no longer is willing to invite him onto their broadcasts because he's too effective. So CNN says, we don't want anything to do with Stephen Miller. He makes us look too stupid. Take a look.
So over the last few days, our brilliant White House communications shop has reached out to CNN, which of course is running one fake news hit piece after another.
Yep.
And they said, Stephen Miller would like to come on your network to rebut any of these lies. And they asked, what show? They said, Stephen Miller will do any show from dawn to dusk. They said, what topic? The White House said, Stephen is available to discuss any topic with any host at any time. As far as you're concerned, Stephen has no scheduling conflicts at all. He will make himself available from the first hour of air to the last hour of air on any subject. And you know what CNN's response was? We will not take him, period, for any show on any topic. That is completely true.
They don't want anything to do with him. He is radioactive. to CNN, that is. And the reason why is because every single time he has showed up on CNN, he just absolutely destroys them. It's a good old-fashioned CNN cook-off. It's a barbecue. And he is the pit master, pretty much. That is really funny. Now, Stephen Miller goes on to talk about this entire dynamic with the oil tanker situation. The Trump administration yesterday morning seized a tanker off the coast of Venezuela. I suppose I'll give a little bit of an introduction here. By the way, folks, right now we are waiting for Carolyn Levitt to come on out, so we're not going to miss that. We are on standby, probably in the next 10 minutes here. Yesterday morning, Attorney General Pamela Bondi, she made the announcement. Today, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, Homeland Security Investigations, and the United States Coast Guard, with support from the Department of War, executed a seizure warrant for a crude oil tanker used to transport sanctioned oil from Venezuela and Iran. For multiple years, the oil tanker has been sanctioned by the United States due to its involvement in an illicit oil shipping network supporting foreign terrorist organizations. This seizure, completed off the coast of Venezuela, was conducted safely and securely, and our investigation alongside the Department of Homeland Security to prevent the transport of sanctioned oil continues. Yoink, our oil now. Thank you for the oil. And we actually have a video of what this looked like. Take a look. This is what it looked like. I'm going to actually put this up on the big screen here. Check this out. There's no audio for this, but so this is the oil tanker. They've got the helicopters. This is like out of a movie. You've got the special force operators descending down from a helicopter floating above the tanker, boots on the deck of the boat. They are storming this. I mean, this is like out of a Hollywood production. This is nuts. They're kicking open the door. And in they go. Wow. They are storming the ramparts. That is something else. They've got covering fire set up. That's one hell of a boat. That's one big boat. Good Lord. And then they're out of there, I guess, or the helicopter's taken off at least. That is something else. Okay, so this is how that oil tanker seizure went down. We heard about this yesterday morning. And where was that post I was just at? Here it is. So Stephen Miller gives his thoughts on how this went down. Take a look.
Since President Trump has come into office, Democrats have sided with, at every step of the way, the criminal cartels, the narco-terrorists, and the criminally illegal aliens who deal drugs, narcotics, traffic, weapons, children, and engage in all kinds of crimes against humanity in the United States and throughout the Western Hemisphere. President Trump has directed the Department of War, the Department of Homeland Security, the Department of Justice to prioritize the defense of American lives and borders by taking the fight directly to these criminal cartels and these foreign terrorist organizations. You mentioned today the historic action, an interagency operation involving the United States Coast Guard, involving the Department of Justice, involving the Department of War, to seize an illicit oil tanker that is directly involved in funding and financing terrorism. So again, these illicit, ill-gotten financial proceeds from these sanctioned transactions are used to finance murder, mayhem, drug trafficking, and terrorism across the Western Hemisphere and directly in the United States. So these regimes use these ghost fleets, these dark fleets, to evade sanctions and to fund and finance and export terrorism, violence, and death. And President Trump has said, we will defend and protect American lives. And that's what's happening, Sean.
So, ladies and gentlemen, can you guess what the far left narrative has been for the last 24 hours? Ever since the news broke regarding this oil tanker, the Trump administration seized it. Have you been keeping tabs on what the left has been saying? They've been saying, oh, so you can blow up narco trafficking boats, but you're not blowing up the oil tanker? What's the difference? What? So I guess this means you are capable of seizing the trafficking boats. You just want to blow them up. You just feel like blowing them up. And the answer is like, yeah. Duh. And by the way, there are a couple differences here on the narco boats. There is a huge volume of them. There's dozens of them or hundreds of them in total. It is better to blow them up. They're smaller, they're more nimble. And also, listen, these narco trafficking boats, they are directly leading to the immediate death of Americans. In America, they're a more immediate threat than a massive oil smuggling boat. Terrorist narco traffickers are different than oil smugglers. It is not exactly the same dynamic here. Also, let's just be honest. The oil tanker has something that is beneficial to us, so it is worth seizing. The narco trafficking boats, they don't have something that is beneficial to us. They're full of narcotics, so it is better to blow them up. Okay? Maybe if the narco boats had something worth seizing, maybe we would seize them. But they don't, so they're getting blown up. But yeah, like at a just like fundamental flip off your brain and think about it, blowing up narco boats, good. Seizing oil vessels and then using the oil, bad or good. Sorry, I'm getting mixed up here, but you know what I'm trying to say. Listen to what I say, not what I mean. Now, yesterday afternoon, we had Republican Senator Eric Schmidt, who was asked point blank about members of the far left media about this. See how he responded to this.
If you can seize a tanker without killing anyone,
what's that?
If you can seize an oil tanker without killing anyone, shouldn't that have been the way that these fishing boats were also stopped?
Fishing boats? What is a fishing boat?
Fishing boats. They are still running this narrative. They are still pushing the humble fishing boat narrative. They're just out fishing. It's kind of like how they tried to say that Kilmar Abrego Garcia was a humble Maryland father. He was a drug-dealing, human trafficking, wife-beating, cartel gang member. Actually, he wasn't and also, by the way, illegal alien on top of that, with an extensive criminal record. Not exactly a humble Maryland father, was he?
Well,
the drug runners?
The drug runners.
Those aren't fishing boats.
Yeah, but
those aren't fishing boats.
If you can seize a vessel without violence.
Okay, well, let's talk about Article 2 authority. The President, as the Commander-in-Chief, has identified and designated terrorist organizations who are cartels who run drugs that kill 100,000 Americans a year. So there's no legal question that he has the legal ability to blow those boats out of the water, and they will continue. This, however, these were economic sanctions by the President as delegated by Congress. Those were enforced by civil authorities with the aid of the U.S. Navy. So we're talking about two very different things. But if you're asking me if I have sympathy for narco-terrorists killing Americans whose boats that are carrying the drugs that kill Americans, I don't. I have sympathy for my neighbors in Missouri who've been poisoned, who die. And we finally have a president who cares about them more than the Democrats care about going down to El Salvador to drink margaritas with terrorists.
Senator,
that's how I feel about it.
Do you believe that the Trump administration should try to overthrow Maduro's regime?
That's not, we're not talking about that at all. We're talking about actually enforcing sanctions. And so, and again,
what good is a sanction if you don't enforce it? Excellent question. You can say, hey, don't do that. But if you don't actually have some sort of punishment, then it really doesn't matter. And I think that probably every single parent knows this. I mean, what good is a law if we say, hey, you're not allowed to rob banks, but then we never actually punish bank robbers? Well, then kind of what's the point of having the law in the first place, right?
Letting the world know that we have important interests in our own hemisphere.
But it is something the administration is weighing. The president was kind of open about that.
I don't know what you're talking about. I mean, that's an assertion you're making.
Senator Hawley has expressed opposition to U.S. troops on the ground in Venezuela. Are you open to troops in Venezuela?
I trust President Trump is going to make a good decision here. So he's a realist who understands that we have to, again, pivot away from Europe's over-reliance on the generosity of Americans. They have failed and refused to step up for their own continental defense. That has to change. And so we have real interest here in our own hemisphere. We have real interest in the great competition with China. So that's what my focus is.
Okay, you guys know I love my American history. It was, I believe, our third president, a man named Thomas Jefferson. You might have heard about him. Pretty important guy in American history. Thomas Jefferson was the third president, I believe, between 1801 and 1809. Now, when Thomas Jefferson was president of the United States, we had a little bit of a problem in the Mediterranean. there were these pirates. They were called the Barbary Pirates, all around the Mediterranean and outside the Strait of Gibraltar, on the way in and out of the Mediterranean as well. Now, we had American trade vessels that were shipping goods, American goods, exporting them to Europe. We had trade at this point in the early 1800s. What happened was these Barbary pirates, they were seizing American trade vessels. They were preying on American trade vessels. They were taking the shipmates, American citizens, taking them into slavery and selling them as white American slaves all over Africa and the Ottoman Empire. And it was bad. It was a national crisis. And so Thomas Jefferson, he said, well, what am I going to do about this? Here's what we're going to do. We are going to deploy the United States Navy, and we're going to blow up every gosh darn Barbary pirate vessel that we see. So for 8 years during the Thomas Jefferson presidential administration, we actually had the American Navy patrolling the waters of the Mediterranean in Europe, between Europe and Africa, and they were blowing the living hell out of Barbary pirates. And so this is the precedent. Listen, was this a problem for our founding fathers in the early 1800s? Thomas Jefferson, by the way, George Washington was still alive. Nobody had a problem with this. We deployed our Navy, said, listen, you are not going to endanger the lives of American sailors, of Americans. We're not going to tolerate this. We are going to blow the living hell. And so the precedent has been set by who? Our founding fathers. This is what Trump is doing here. Listen, you are not going to endanger lives, especially not the Mediterranean, but off the coast of America, of the continental U.S. We're not going to tolerate this in our own backyard, let alone in the Mediterranean. These ships are getting blown up. We are done messing around. Okay. And this was the approach that the founding fathers took in 1801, 1802, 1803, etc. Now, we have some different news. A little bit more lighthearted here. And once again, we are keeping tabs. We're waiting for White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt. She is going to come out and talk about this, all of this. We have a very curious merging of worlds, okay? Breaking news. Incredible things are happening as Nicki Minaj, the pop star rapper, is now heaping support and praise on JD Vance. Nicki Minaj yesterday afternoon she's been posting about JD Vance all day, 4 days now. Nicki Minaj said, nothing brings me joy like the Vance memes and knowing that he leaned into them like a boss. Top tier comedy, character 100. But make no mistake, Vance is an assassin. Don't debate him on anything. Quick as a computer, maybe even quicker. He's the best blend I've ever seen of us and of them. Nicki Minaj, I kid you not. I kid you not. If you don't believe me, I will pull up her actual Twitter profile, her X profile. She is going all in, and I don't even know why, but she loves him. She loves him. I guess, I don't know. I'm not, listen, I guess Nicki Minaj, she loves Chucky, this horror film. She loves him. She's been posting there. This is the post 1 hour ago. Vance is better than ants in the pants. I don't know what that means. I mean, yeah, I would rather have Vance than ants in my pants. True. That is true. I suppose. Oh, look at this. She's also throwing love for President Trump and his beautiful wife, Melania. This post here says, on May 7th, 2018, Melania Trump made history by becoming the first lady in modern American history to undergo a serious medical procedure. Okay, so she had surgery, and Nicki Minaj is supporting that. I don't know what's going on here, but Nicki Minaj is now supporting JD Vance. So she's on the Vance train. In fact, we might even have the presidential ticket, Vance Minaj. Actually, I think she's not an American citizen, or she's not a native-born American citizen. So don't worry about that. She's not going to become vice president. But what a strange timeline. Now, good Lord, while we have a minute here, I want to stay on top of super chats because we have a couple super chats here popping up in YouTube already. So let me get on top of these before White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt comes on out. She's scheduled to come out and talk to us any minute now. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in today. Hit the like button. Make sure to subscribe. Thank you all, and good morning. Special emergency broadcast early on this beautiful Thursday, I believe. Jumpin' Jack, he says, also oil will cause an environmental disaster. Exxon Valdez freaking idiots. That's an excellent point. I didn't even think about that. Can you imagine if President Trump fired 3 Tomahawk missiles at an oil tanker off the coast of Venezuela, and we had oil seeping out into the water for weeks or months? You know, the left would be saying, oh, my good Lord, it's an environmental crisis. Oh, Trump is terrible. We need to impeach him immediately. I mean, they're already going to try to impeach him if they win the midterms. But, you're absolutely right. Excellent. I didn't even think about that. Mr. H. Schroeder. In English, we say Schroeder. In German, they'd probably say Schroeder. 3248. Wow. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. That's a huge super chat. I really appreciate that. Dankeschön. Okay, my viewer with the German name. Thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. That means a lot. It's a massive super chat. I couldn't do it without the support that you guys throw, either super chatting or tuning in or liking or whatever. It all helps. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. We have another one here from Marlene Charlton. Marlene, thank you very much. I appreciate that a lot. Another similar massive super chat. Thank you very much and good morning. Happy Thursday morning, I believe. My schedule is whack. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Good morning, everybody. Any minute now, White House Press Secretary Carolyn Leavitt is coming on out, but we are not going to miss any of that. We do have more breaking news this morning to go through, though. Breaking: Donald Trump Jr. is now threatening, as of this morning, to personally primary challenge any Indiana GOP senator who votes down the 2026 redistricting map that adds +2 red seats. Now, Indiana has passed this new redistricting map through their state house. Now it's got to go through the state Senate. And there's a little bit of controversy as to whether or not that is going to actually happen. And so the Trump administration, they are putting maximum pressure. Donald Trump Jr. says, you know what? Pass the map, Indiana Senate, pass the map, or I am getting involved. I will primary your sweep behind out. Goodbye. He says, and I quote, if Indiana Republicans side with these never Trumpers to do the dirty work of the Democrats, I'll be spending a lot of time in Indiana next year campaigning against every single one of them. P.S. These rhino consultants sabotaging MAGA need to be rooted out of the GOP. Pluck them out by the roots. Don Trump Jr. is not playing around. Now, I see a big super chat over here in Rumble. I want to shout out the Rumble viewers. Good morning, boys in Rumble, ladies and gentlemen. MBP 1974 says, good morning, all. Can't stay long. I'm on my lunch break. Best wishes to you and your family this Christmas. God bless. Merry Christmas. What are we, 14 days? Do my math, 14 days away. I've got a 4-year-old daughter, and every day she is talking about, she could not be more excited. This is her first Christmas as like kind of she has like thoughts, like coherent thoughts. And so she's totally into Christmas. She's talking about Santa Claus every single day. We told her that he's going to come down the chimney. We've got a fireplace in the living room. Santa Claus is coming down that chimney, but only if you behave yourself. Only if you're a nice little girl. Okay, I'll be nice. Okay, I'll eat my broccoli. Okay, I'll clean up my toys. So our household is all in on Christmas right now. We love it. Now, we have a little economic update, and this was discussed on CNN late last night. Take a look at this.
You can look at the chart of inflation over the last 50 years, right? And you'll see two big bumps. On top of those big bumps are Jimmy Carter and Joe Biden. And those cliffs that fall off are Ronald Reagan and Donald Trump.
I'll tell you what, man, Jimmy Carter is very lucky. By the way, rest in peace. God bless his soul. However, not a fan of his work as the president. Jimmy Carter is very lucky because for a long time, he was the worst president in U.S. history, perhaps. Now, don't worry, Jimmy Carter. Now it's Joe Biden. Somebody took that title.
Your dollar is worth 20% less right now today because of 21% CPI inflation under Joe Biden.
Yeah.
Your wages are
$3,000
less because your average salary and your real American wages went down by $3,000. That's a Joe Biden thing. You can
Listen, you guys know this. Under the Biden administration, this peaked in late 2022, early 2023. Our inflation rate was 9%. 9%. Economists freak out if inflation is like 4%. Even 3.5%, it's like, oh my gosh, it's too high. 9% during the height of Biden's economic, I don't know, travesty, whatever you want to call it. Remember when Joe Biden put this country into a recession and then they redefined what recession means? Normally, forever, like for always, the definition of an economic recession was 2 consecutive economic quarters of negative economic growth. All it takes is 2. If we got 2 bad quarters, we are in a recession. Well, we had that. And then they redefined what a recession is so they could then technically say, well, it's not a recession because we have redefined what a recession is. Unbelievable. And then they try to tell us, well, yeah, inflation is high, but it's transitory. It's transitory. It's just here for a while, but it's not always going to be here, so don't worry about it. These people are liars, the members of the far left. If their mouth is yapping, you can bet your sweet behind that they are lying. We have news coming out of Minneapolis today. Let's check in on the White House press room. We are on standby for Carolyn Levitt. We have news coming out of Minneapolis. This Somali individual is not happy with what's going on. Take a look.
You know, our own government's coming to neighborhoods and asking people for their citizenship. Like, this is not 1930s in Germany.
There was a handful of agents. At one point, they began firing pepper spray into groups of people, including Khalid Mohammed.
I lost my voice. I was blind for about 30 minutes because the pepper spray they used was so strong that it blinded me for about 30 minutes.
You know a good way, if you're an illegal alien, you know a good way to not have pepper spray sprayed in your eyeballs is to leave the country. If you are, here's my advice. I'm going to try to be a rational guy. If you are an illegal alien and you do not want pepper spray in your eyeballs, then what should you do? You should leave the country. You should go back to where you came from because you have illegally invaded our country and we're not having it. Now, Scott Jennings actually chimes in on this entire situation.
We don't have to let people in. They're guests in our country. Visas and other programs that let people in, we're not bound to do it. We don't have to do it. We don't have to do any more of it. Through the goodness of our hearts, we've done it. But some of these people that we've let in have no interest in assimilation. And by assimilation, I mean embracing the United States of America, what we stand for, the way we do it. They try to import their culture. They try to import their political culture into our country, and they're just fundamentally incompatible. We don't have.
So, you know, for a long time, for decades, for generations, we were told that, well, we got to take in immigrants from all over the world, and they're going to assimilate. We are a melting pot. They assimilate. They melt into the pot. So it's all good. Don't worry about it. They're just like you and me. Well, does that really seem to be the case? I mean, things have gotten so insane. Does it really? I mean, we all have eyeballs. We all have 5 senses. You know, we've all got ears and eyes. Are they assimilating? Are they melting into the pot, so to speak? Doesn't really seem to be the case. So he's right. So this is why everyone right now is calling for a complete and total moratorium on immigration from the third world, because assimilation was a lie. The melting pot was a lie. They are not melting into the pot. They are, in fact, at this point, they are taking pride in the fact that they are not assimilating. They're saying, we are here to conquer. We're taking over. This is our country now, Americans, and there's nothing you can do about it. That's what they are saying. They're marching through our streets, waving foreign flags. It's like, wait a minute. You haven't assimilated at all. You're not even trying. Now, we have some very concerning news. This is from Gavin Newsom. Now, Gavin Newsom earlier today posted this video. Very concerning, by the way. Now, I'm going to play the video, but I'm not going to play the audio because there's some copyright music issues, but I'm going to play the video for you here. Gavin Newsom himself posted this. He said, can you just mute the audio for the love of God, please, here? Thank you. It says, it's cuffing season. And it shows Hegseth, Trump, Stephen Miller getting handcuffed, sitting on the sidewalk. Now they're in the back of a cop car. They're crying. This is AI generated. They're going into the courthouse. They're detained by the police. So listen, folks, little bit of a reminder here. We already saw this for 4 years during the Biden administration, but if the Democrats win, I mean, the midterms, of course, that is step one, but we got to, more importantly, the 2028 presidential election. The Democrats, we need to believe them. When they post stuff like this, somebody said, stop playing AI crap, Matt Morris. Gavin Newsom, a governor, the leading Democrat presidential candidate, posted this. Yes, it is AI. Yes, it's AI. Of course, duh. I'm showing you this because they are being explicit. This is what they want to do should they win the election.
Faces in here today.
They are out for blood.
As we approach the end of the year, it is a great time to reflect on how much progress our country has made under President Trump's bold leadership. Given the complete mess that President Trump inherited from Joe Biden and radical left Democrats in Congress, what this administration has accomplished since January 20th has been nothing short of remarkable. While most politicians promise big on the campaign trail and break those promises once they get into office, President Trump promised big and has delivered even bigger. On the economic front, after inheriting the worst inflation crisis in over 4 decades, President Trump's pro-growth policies are making tremendous progress to make America affordable again. Under the painful Biden years, inflation reached a record high 9% and devoured Americans' purchasing power.
9%.
In President Trump's term thus far, inflation has dropped to an average of just 2.7%, marking critical progress. The Trump administration is working hard every single day to bring down the cost of living through bigger paychecks and lower prices. Real wages are finally on the rise again and on pace to increase to roughly $1,200 for the average American worker this year. To put that into perspective, real wages declined by almost $3,000 under the Biden administration. That means Americans right now are on track already to make up 1/3 of the $3,000 in lost wages under Joe Biden. There's much work to do, but this has already been significant progress. President Trump has also delivered resoundingly on his promise to end Joe Biden's insane war on American energy and make sure our country has reliable and affordable energy produced right here at home. As a result, the nationwide average for regular gas just fell to its lowest level in nearly 5 years.
Yeah.
According to data from Gas Buddy released on Monday, average gas prices have now dipped below $3 per gallon in 37 states, below $2.75 per gallon in 22 states, and below $2.50 per gallon in 5 states. Just a few years ago, we saw record high price gas of nearly $5 per gallon. American families faced constant pain at the pump, and those costs caused the price of everything else to go up as well. In fact, the average cost for a gallon of regular gas in the country was the most expensive price during a presidential term in U.S. history under Biden's disastrous leadership, even with them recklessly draining our strategic reserves to try and artificially decrease prices. But thanks to President Trump, those days are long behind us. In the months ahead, Americans can expect prices to fall even further. We know that when gas gets cheaper, everything else gets cheaper too, and that's what this president is focusing on. Americans can also expect another boost to their bank accounts in the months ahead, as 2026 tax refund season is upon us after the holidays, and it's projected to be the largest ever thanks to President Trump's passage of the One Big Beautiful Bill.
All right.
According to recent analysis from Piper Sandler, when Americans file their taxes early next year, their refunds could be about 1/3 larger than usual, or roughly an extra $1,000 per filer. That is money straight into the pockets of the American people. It's only because of President Trump and Republicans' leadership that Americans will now pay no tax on tips, overtime, and Social Security. President Trump and Republicans believe hardworking Americans deserve to keep more of their hard-earned money, but Democrats, on the other hand, every single one of them voted against
Shout out
these
my brother
massive
Decoy
tax
in the chat.
cuts. So remember that the next time Democrats try to talk about affordability. Democrats don't have a single clue about how to make America more affordable. They just spent the last 4 years creating the very affordability crisis that President Trump is fixing right now. And if given the chance of power ever again, the Democrats will implement those same policies and jack inflation right back up to where it was.
Yes, they will.
Finally, at the border,
Yeah.
President Trump has restored America's sovereignty and made our country safe again. This is the single greatest and fastest national security victory in modern American history, and it's not even close. The latest preliminary numbers released from the month of November show we have the most secure border in our nation's history. This is a remarkable achievement. November encounters came in even lower than the previous historic low in October, if you can believe it. There were only 30,367 total encounters nationwide. That's lower than the previous record set in October. And for the 7th consecutive month, U.S. Border Patrol released 0 illegal aliens into the United States. Let me repeat, 7 months of 0 illegal aliens being released into our country. This is a historic achievement, and it's one that every law-abiding American citizen should be grateful for.
Yeah.
At this point in 10 months under President Trump's unmatched leadership, we've seen less apprehensions overall than we saw in just 1 month under Joe Biden. Again, let me repeat, in 10 months under President Trump, we've seen less apprehensions at the southern border than we saw in 1 month under the previous president. Again, remarkable results. All in all, the economy is back on track and ready to boom over the next 3 years. Biden's inflation crisis is over. Prices are coming down. Wages are rising. The border is fully secure, and America's best days are to come. President Trump has kept his word and delivered for the American people over the past year, and he will not stop fighting, as you heard from him directly this week, until our country and every state in this country is better than ever before. So with that, I will take your questions today. I know there's a lot of news. We'll start with our
There'll
new
be some
media
good questions
Mr.
today.
Bowling, it's great to see you here. He's of Real America's Voice. He's also the host of Edge, his interview and commentary podcast. Please, Eric, why don't you kick us off?
Caroline, thank you very much for this and inviting me to the new media seat. As you point out, affordability crisis, it strikes me energy prices have been coming down aggressively since President Trump's second term.
They have.
Approaching $55 a barrel for oil, gasoline, as you point out, under $3 a barrel nationally, first time in 5 years. By the way, that $55 barrel oil is about half of the peak under the last 4 years of the last administration, half the price. Wholesale prices come down, yet affordability crisis, a lot of the folks in this room, a lot of legacy media, some people in the front row, seem to want to call this an affordability crisis right now, forgetting the fact that over the last 4 years prior, we hit 9% inflation. Wages, as you point out, were stagnant at best, sometimes had dipped. That's a real affordability crisis there, but they weren't really calling it that then. You point out how President Trump is changing the affordability in America, but how will he ensure that the legacy media doesn't flip the script and change it so that they're using affordability as their word, their idea, versus what the American people who know much better?
Yeah, well, it's a great question, Eric, and it's a point of frustration for the president and for myself. I will say that's part of the reason I just kicked off this briefing today, setting the record straight with facts about the economic mess that the president inherited from his predecessor, Joe Biden. And he's focused on digging our country and our economy out of that hole every day. Things are getting better, and they will continue to. And President Trump understands better than any politician in this city the pain that the American consumer has been feeling for years now because of the last administration's policies. You heard him in the great Commonwealth of Pennsylvania this past week campaigning and talking to these voters, saying, I was elected to fix this problem, and I am fixing it. Don't forget who who created it, and that's the Democrats. And I think when you hear the president talk about affordability, he's saying the Democrats are the greatest con artists in history because they are now trying to claim ownership of an issue that they created. And every data point and every economic metric does in fact show that the economy is improving. And so I do wish more people would report on those facts. I do wish that more people would remind the American public how we got here and why. It does not mean this president is discarding the feelings of the American people. He gets it better than anyone, which is why his entire administration has been focused on the issue of the economy and energy prices since day one.
If I may
Sure.
follow up, it's reported that around 10,000 commercial driver's license operators have been pulled by your transportation secretary department. Will the president apply that same metric? For the reason was the operators weren't speaking or reading English to a level that was safely, people thought they would safely be able to operate trucks on our roadways. It's estimated in California around 40% of Uber drivers, Uber and Lyft drivers, don't speak English proficiently, and the number's 45% in Minnesota. Will this same rule or metric apply to the gig economy like Uber and Lyft?
So I don't have any announcements on further regulations, if you will, from the Department of Transportation with respect to this issue. However, I will just reiterate the Trump administration's position is that truck drivers, particularly those driving big rigs on our nation's road and highways, who have a great responsibility to keep the American public and their fellow citizens safe, should be speaking English and should have an ability to read English proficiently.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I think that's a very common sense policy to have.
Yep.
And we've unfortunately seen, and the Department of Transportation has uncovered and is actively working to fix these state-sponsored commercial trucking driver licenses, which were going to people who are not qualified to be driving these massive trucks on American roads, and they're endangering the lives of our fellow citizens. We've unfortunately seen
California.
many vehicle accidents across the country where people have lost their lives
California's
because of
been giving them
drivers
out.
that were just simply unqualified to be driving these trucks. So I know this is something DOT and Secretary Duffy take very seriously. Peter.
Thank you, Caroline. Based on the way that things stand right now, is Operation Southern Spear about drugs or is it about oil?
What I will tell you, Peter, is that the Trump administration is focused on doing many things in the Western Hemisphere. The president has taken a new approach that has not been taken by any administration for quite some time to actually focus on what's going on in our own backyard. And there are two things that are very important to this administration. Number one, stopping the flow of illegal drugs into the United States of America, which we know has killed hundreds of thousands of Americans. The president promised on the campaign trail that he would demolish the foreign terrorist organizations and drug cartels around the world, especially right here in our own hemisphere, and you have seen that he is delivering on that promise. With respect to the oil and what happened yesterday, the Department of Justice requested and was approved for a warrant to seize a vessel because it's a sanctioned shadow vessel known for carrying black market sanctioned oil to the IRGC, which you know is a sanctioned entity. So the president is committed to stopping the illegal flow of drugs into our country. He's also fully committed to effectuating this administration's sanction policy, and that's what you saw and the world saw take place yesterday.
And because he said the president is trying to do a lot of things at once, he talks a lot about how he thinks the way to bring down prices for everything would be to bring down the cost of energy. Would he use this seized Venezuelan oil to try to help Americans
Why not?
with affordability here in the United States?
Well, what I can tell you right now, the vessel has been seized, as you know, and the Department of Justice did that in conjunction with the Coast Guard and the Department of War. The vessel is currently undergoing a forfeiture process right now. The United States currently has a full investigative team on the ground on the vessel, and individuals on board the vessel are being interviewed and any relevant evidence is being seized. With respect to the oil, that's a different issue. As you know, Peter, the vessel will go to a U.S. port, and the United States does intend to seize the oil. However, there is a legal process for the seizure of that oil, and that legal process will be followed.
And just my last one on this.
That's
if
our oil
President
now.
Trump launches a bigger military campaign in the Caribbean, is he jeopardizing a possible Nobel Peace Prize?
Look, the president has proven over the past year that he is more than worthy of the Nobel Peace Prize. I think he's been nominated for it nearly 100 times this past year, which is definitely a record. He's solved, I think, 9 conflicts around the world. We are up to now. He's actively working on the Russia-Ukraine war, which is the big one as we speak, and has been over the past year. With respect to any additional action in Venezuela, I'm definitely not going to get ahead of the president or the United States military. Mary.
It now seems all but certain that the Obamacare subsidies will expire at the end of the year. It means more than 20 million Americans are now bracing for their health care costs to soar. Is the president prepared to let this happen, or is he going to step in?
The president is prepared to take action on health care, and he wants Republicans on the Hill to do the same. As you have seen, Senate Republicans put forth their own legislation earlier this week. As for the subsidies that are set to expire, I would like to remind you and everybody at home why this is on the brink of happening. Democrats wrote Obamacare. They passed it without a single Republican vote, and then they ballooned it with these expensive COVID subsidies that completely distorted the health insurance market. And then they doubled down, extending those subsidies and setting their own expiration date right now in 2025, which the administration is obviously well aware of, and we are working. The president is working with his health care
premiums
policy
gone
here at the
down?
White House,
Have they?
as well as Republicans on Capitol Hill, to find a solution.
No.
You said he's working to find a solution. He wants to see a solution to lower health care costs.
He does.
But these subsidies are expiring at the end of the year. So what is the plan, and what is he going to do to put this in place in the next 2-3 weeks?
You'll hear more from the president and from the White House on that very soon. As for wanting a solution to lower healthcare costs, I'm glad you said it, because the president is doing just that. He has made unprecedented progress towards lowering healthcare costs in this country and drug prices. He's secured numerous most favored nation drug price deals, with many more to come. As you know, the One Big Beautiful Bill, the working family tax cut, significantly expanded access to health savings accounts for those on Obamacare. Again, a Democrat written program and approved program, which has led to higher healthcare costs in this country. So it goes back to the issue of affordability. Democrats are now pretending they want a solution to this issue, but they created the problem. The president and Republicans are currently coming up with creative solutions and ideas to lower healthcare costs for the American people, and you'll continue to hear more from them on that.
Before these subsidies expire?
I just said you're going to continue to hear more from the president and Republicans on this issue, I'm sure. Sure, Bloomberg, go ahead.
Thanks, Caroline. The president said he was going to be holding a call with the leaders of Thailand and Cambodia. Have those calls taken place? Is there a readout you can share?
The president has not yet engaged in those calls, and when he does, I'm sure you'll hear from him directly, as you always do, after foreign leader calls or from somebody here at the White House. I do know, with respect to the conflict in the peace deal in Thailand and Cambodia and some of the conflicts you've seen arise, reports of that in the press over the past couple of days. The president addressed it in Pennsylvania. The administration is obviously tracking this at the highest levels and is very much engaged. I spoke with Secretary Rubio about it this morning.
And will senior U.S. officials be meeting Saturday with European and Ukrainian officials to discuss the peace plan?
Look, the United States and the Trump administration continues to be very much engaged in trying to bring the Russia-Ukraine war to an end. The president had a call with Europeans yesterday. His special envoy Witkoff and his team continue to talk with both sides literally as we speak. If there is a real chance of signing a peace agreement, if we feel like those meetings are worthy of someone on the United States' time this weekend, then we will send a representative. It's still up in the air whether we believe real peace can be accomplished and we can truly move the ball forward. The president is extremely frustrated with both sides of this war, and he's sick of meetings just for the sake of meeting. He doesn't want any more talk. He wants action. He wants this war to come to an end. And the administration has spent more than 30 hours, just in the past couple of weeks, meeting with the Russians and the Ukrainians and the Europeans and speaking with them as well. So we'll see about the meetings this weekend, and stay tuned.
President read President Zelensky's latest proposal that was sent over yesterday.
He's aware of it, yes. Ed.
Thanks, Caroline. So the Fed chairman, the president says that he's interviewing candidates. So I just want to be clear. So the pick has not been locked in, and could we get an announcement before Christmas?
I know every business outlet in the world is just chomping at the bit for a scoop or something on this Fed chair announcement. I'm not going to get ahead of the president. I know there's been a lot of reports about potential meetings this week with potential candidates. Look, as always, this is a decision the president himself is going to make. And I know there's a lot of reporting out there from anonymous sources who claim to know something. I would wait and see what the president himself does and announces, and I certainly won't be the one to get ahead of him on that.
On the economy, can I ask you about
Michael, go ahead.
On the next Fed chair, does the president have an expectation that his pick will lower interest rates next year to his liking?
I think the president has been quite clear about what he believes the Fed should be doing, which is lowering interest rates. I know there was a quarter-point reduction this past week, and the president was pleased to see that, but he thinks more should be done. Philip.
Thank you, Caroline. On these advanced NVIDIA H200 chips, why is the president willing to allow China to have access to one of America's chief technological advantages?
Look, I will tell you just a couple of things. The president put out his own statement on this, which I do think highlights his exact thinking. What you see from the president on Truth Social is most of the time what you hear from the president behind closed doors privately. He told President Xi that NVIDIA will only be shipping H200 products to approved customers in China under conditions that will allow for continued strong national security. The administration continues to maintain a strict export control regime, and we are ensuring that the Blackwell chip and other advanced technologies stay right here in America, and these H200 chips will only be sent to China after undergoing a security inspection here in the United States. Elizabeth.
Thank you, Caroline. New York City Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani put out a video recently telling immigrants in New York City they have the right to stand up to ICE. Are you concerned this will inspire New York City residents to resist ICE operations, and what will the Trump administration do if this happens?
The Trump administration is definitely concerned about the rise in violence, in attacks, and physical threats that we have seen against our brave men and women who wear the ICE uniform. Again, these are agents who are just simply doing their jobs. They are enforcing our nation's immigration laws, and we've seen more than a 1,000% increase in violent attacks on them and their families. They've been doxxed, they've been harassed. Many of them have been physically assaulted and attacked. So we condemn that wholeheartedly. I know the administration has done a lot to protect our ICE agents, and the president stands firmly behind them in conducting these enforcement operations. And there's a lot of talk from Democrat politicians in New York, but the Trump administration will continue to do our jobs in every state, and that's to remove illegal aliens and public safety threats from American communities. Sure.
Thank you.
I'll go to the gentleman who's very eager, and then to you.
Thank you so much. Obviously, Jasmine Crockett, who the president has openly criticized, just entered Texas' Senate race. I asked Mike Johnson, who said that Texas largely supports the president. Crockett, on the other hand, says that Trump is an example of extremism. She says that her support is a referendum on Trump. I'm curious to get your thoughts on this. And has Trump made any statements since she's announced her candidacy?
Not to my knowledge, as you know from the White House podium. As a government employee, I'm not privy to comment on future elections, but I do think the president has made his thoughts on Ms. Crockett quite clear, and I do believe he thinks she is wholly unqualified
for
the office that she is seeking. Joey.
She is a
Caroline,
dumbass.
a federal judge today ordered the immediate release of Kilmar Abrego Garcia from ICE detention. Does White House have a response to that, and does the administration plan to appeal that decision?
Absolutely. The White House, the administration opposed this activism from a judge who is really acting as a judicial activist, which we've unfortunately seen in many cases across the country. Abrego Garcia is present in our country illegally. He is a proven human trafficker. He is a proven gang member. The administration has evidence of that. And as you saw from the Department of Homeland Security, they issued a statement saying they'll continue to fight this legal battle in court. Caitlin.
Two questions. I have one on Venezuela to follow up, but first on affordability, since we were talking about the economy at the beginning. If the economy is as strong as the president has said it is, then why is he telling parents 2 weeks before Christmas that they should only buy 2 or 3 dolls for their children?
Look, what
He
the
said that
president is
over a
saying
year
is that
ago,
if
right?
we want products made right here in America, if we want them to be made from American small businesses, which is a large part of the reason the president has effectively implemented tariffs, then we're going to have better quality products right here in the United States. Maybe you'll pay $1 or $2 more, but you will get better quality, and you'll be supporting your fellow Americans by buying American. And that's what the president was saying. Again, with respect to affordability, every economic metric, Caitlin, and I wish you would report more on it, does in fact show that the economy is getting better and brighter than where it was under the previous administration. administration. I will repeat, inflation as measured by the overall CPI has slowed to an average 2.5% pace. Real wages are increasing, roughly $1,200 for the average worker. Gas prices are down in almost every single state across the country. Again, in 22 states, it's below $2.75. You look at the tax cuts; those are going to go into effect next year. So the best is yet to come. The president is digging our country out of the economic hole that the previous administration put us in, and that's what he's talking about.
It was a year ago, as you know, and grocery prices have been up. So we've covered the economy, but there's mixed signals in terms of what that looks like. But on
inflation is down from where it was. As measured by the overall CPI, it has slowed to an average 2.5% pace. This is down from what the president inherited. The president inherited 2.9% in January. Today it's at about 2.5%. So we're trending in the right direction with more to come. And I would remind you, when President Trump left office in his first term, inflation was 1.7%. And the previous administration jacked it up to a record high 9%. So again, in 10 months, the president has clawed us out of this hole. He's kept it low at 2.5%, and we believe that number is going to continue to decline, especially as energy and oil prices continue to decline as well.
It wasn't high under Biden. They're just saying it's not.
Well, nobody reported on it being high under Biden. My predecessor was standing at this podium, but now you want to ask me a lot of questions about it, which I'm happy to answer. But I will just add, there's a lot more scrutiny on this issue from this press corps than there was. Well, and the previous administration said that too. My predecessor stood up at this podium and she said inflation doesn't exist. She said the border was secure, and people like you just took her at her word, and those were two utter lies. Everything I'm telling you is the truth, backed by real factual data, and you just don't want to report on it because you want to push untrue narratives about the president. Go ahead.
True.
I'm not going to
lying media. Fake news.
About the upcoming redistricting vote in Indiana and what happens if it fails.
We'll see how the vote plays out. That's a political matter and, frankly, a legal one, and I won't comment on it here. Brian.
Thank you, Caroline. I'm going to go back to the Fed. I have two topics I just want to address with you. The first one on the Fed. The president did say yesterday that he was meeting with Kevin Warsh.
This is your favorite story in the world, Brian.
It is our favorite story. The president said yesterday he was meeting with Kevin Warsh to talk about the Fed chair, interview for a Fed chair role. Can you just say how that interview went with him?
I won't comment on private meetings without the president's approval to do so.
And the second thing is on the Netflix Warner Brothers deal. The president did address this also yesterday. He said that he believes that the sale of CNN should be attached to that deal with Netflix or with Paramount if anything happens down the road with them. Can you just explain what the president's planning to do going forward to continue to make that case similar to what he made yesterday?
Well, I think the president's comments yesterday about the sale of CNN and new leadership is evidenced by my exchange with the CNN reporter in this room. Their viewership has gone down, their ratings has declined, and I think the president rightfully believes that network would benefit from new ownership. With respect to this deal, he has great respect for both companies who are bidding against one another, and I won't weigh in any further than that. In the back, go ahead.
Thank you.
I wasn't calling on either of you, but I'll take both your questions and then to you. Go ahead.
I have two questions. One is South Korea, one on the Japan. First question, the recent U.S.-South Korea trade fact sheet made no mention of agricultural product. Does the United States want to completely open its rice and beef market to South Korea? And
say what?
Question on Japan. China is using its military power to surround Okinawa, Japan. Is the United States concerned about the military conflict between China and Japan? And what action will the United States take?
Okay. To your first question on
excellent
South
question.
Korean beef,
Yes.
Beef export to South Korea, I will check with our trade team and we will get you an answer on that. To your second question with respect to Japan and China, the president has a phenomenal relationship with the new Prime Minister of Japan, as you know. He was pleased to meet her when we went to Asia a couple of months ago, and they have spoken a few times since. They continue to be engaged with one another, and Japan is a great ally of the United States, as evidenced by their personal relationship and our continued trade relations with Japan. With respect to China, the president also has a good working relationship with President Xi, which he believes is a good thing for our country, and he believes that the United States should be in a position to have a good working relationship with China while maintaining our very strong alliance with Japan. Go ahead.
Yesterday, President Trump was speaking about drug production in Colombia. He said that the president of Colombia better wise up or he's gonna be next. What was he meaning exactly? And the other thing is that President Gustavo Petro of Colombia responded to that statement by issuing a formal invitation to President Trump to go to Colombia and to see firsthand how the authorities in Colombia are fighting against drugs. Do you think that President Trump would consider that?
Well, that's very interesting. I hadn't heard the news about that invitation. I will let the president speak directly to it on whether or not that's something he would entertain. But as for his comments yesterday towards President Petro, he has been saying some very alarming and frankly insulting things towards the United States of America, and the president doesn't like it.
Yes, he has. Yes, he has.
Yes, go ahead.
Thank you. The president's been spotted out and about a number of times with bandages on his hands. Could you please explain what that is about? Secondly, he noted on Truth Social the other day that he had aced 3 cognitive tests. Could you please clarify when those tests took place?
I can do that at a later date. I obviously don't have that in front of me. The president has spoken about that quite extensively throughout the years. As for the bandages on the hand, we've also given you an explanation for that in the past. The president is literally constantly shaking hands. The Oval Office is like Grand Central Terminal. He is meeting with more people than any of you even know about on a daily basis. He's also on a daily aspirin regimen, which is something his physical examinations has said in the past as well, which can contribute to that bruising that you see.
Thank you, Caroline. Back to that oil tanker, just want to know, was this a one-off, or is it safe to say the administration is taking a more active look at the oil industry in Venezuela?
Do it again.
Whether targeting other oil ships or perhaps Venezuelan oil production facilities in Venezuela?
Well, I won't broadcast any future actions from the administration, but I will just reiterate that the Trump administration is executing on the president's sanction policies and the sanction policies of the United States. And we're not going to stand by and watch sanctioned vessels sail the seas with black market oil, the proceeds of which will fuel narco-terrorism of rogue and illegitimate regimes around the world.
Do it again.
Thank you, Caroline. 2 for you. First, when the president announced the farm relief program the other day, Secretary Rollins afterwards, right out there, told us that the program would be paid for by the Commodity Credit Corporation, an existing program. The president keeps saying that it's being paid for by tariff revenue. Why does he keep saying that if the secretary who's running the program says that's not the case? And also about his doll comments from the other night. The president's a billionaire. He's probably the wealthiest person to ever serve as president. Is it a good look for him to be telling parents, oh, you should only buy, $2 or $3 for your kids, when he's one of the wealthiest people in the country running the government?
Do you think the people in that room in Pennsylvania who the president was speaking to don't know the president's a billionaire? I think that's a very well-established fact. And actually, I think it's one of the many reasons they reelected him back to this office, because he's a businessman who understands the economy and knows how to fix it. And he's doing it right now just like he did in his first term. Sure, go ahead. To the gentleman behind you, Andrew, yes, go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you, Caroline. On Gaza, we heard the president say yesterday that the Board of Peace members are going to be announced early next year. What is the administration doing to move the parties in the region closer toward phase 2 of his peace plan for Gaza?
Sure. Well, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't highlight what a success it is that 10 months into the president's administration, you're asking me about a peace plan in Gaza, because that's a legitimate reality on the ground right now in the region. And it's only because of this president's leadership that that was able to take place, that all the living hostages were returned. All but one body of the deceased hostages has been returned, and we're still, of course, working on the last one. As for this next phase of the peace process, there is a lot of quiet planning that's going on behind the scenes right now for phase 2 of the peace deal. And when the United States is ready to make those announcements public on the Board of Peace, the ISF, and the Palestinian technocratic government, we will be making those announcements at the appropriate time. But the reason that that, the negotiators and the teams on the ground have been rather quiet about this is because I spoke with them this morning. They are trying to be deliberate and thoughtful about this. Peace in Gaza, in the Palestinian Strip, is something, the Gaza Strip rather, is something that people have been trying to accomplish for 70 years. So, this is a complex problem, and this administration
3,000
wants
years.
to be very thoughtful about it, and we want to ensure an enduring and lasting peace. And when those announcements are ready, they will be made.
3,000 years.
Thank you. There have been reports that Vladimir Putin called Maduro today to reaffirm his support. I wanted to ask if it is concerning to the president that Putin has given such a warm embrace to Maduro.
I don't think that would be concerning to the president at all, no. I'll let him speak on it further.
Spoken to Putin about that?
He has not spoken to President Putin today, and I understand that call took place this morning, so the answer is no.
Thanks. I have a question about the ACA, but just first very quickly clarifying Caitlin's question. You acknowledged that CPI in January when you took office was 3%, and in September, the last month for which we have data, it was also 3%, so inflation.
No, it's 2.5%.
Not in September, it was 3%.
It's 2.5%, the average CPI right now. I have it in front of me. In President Trump's first 8 months in office, inflation as measured by the overall consumer price index has slowed to a 2.5 average pace. This is down from the 2.9% inherited in January.
January is 1 month.
Kelly, in the back.
Okay, can I ask you about the ACA really quickly? There are a number of plans that are floating around on the Hill right now having to do with these premium subsidies that are about to expire. Which plan does the White House support?
Again, I have told you now a few times that the president and Republicans will continue to unveil creative ideas and solutions to the healthcare crisis that was created by Democrats. And I know Chuck Schumer is putting up a vote today. This is a political show vote. Chuck Schumer is not sincerely interested in lowering healthcare costs for the American people. He's putting this vote on the floor knowing that it will fail so he can have another talking point that he can throw around without any real plan or action. If Chuck Schumer actually wanted to lower healthcare costs, I'm sure the president would welcome him and his entire Democrat caucus to a legitimate coordination on the president's policies of bringing down drug prices, these most favored nation deals. Why hasn't Chuck Schumer ever come out in support of those? Those are going to legitimately, they already are, lower drug prices for the American people, and not a word from Chuck Schumer on it. So I think that just proves this is completely political. Kelly, go ahead.
Buttons on Venezuela. Does the president consider the seizure of the oil tanker an escalation or a step towards war with Venezuela?
I think the president considers the seizure of the oil tanker as effectuating the administration's sanction policies, which I've already discussed previously.
Potential invasion or potential land strikes in Venezuela aligned with the president's supporters, the MAGA base, does it risk the potential for a prolonged war and U.S. troops involved in that?
Prolonged war is definitely not something this president is interested in. He's been very clear about that. He wants peace. He also wants to see the end of illegal drugs being trafficked into the United States and taking the lives of hundreds of thousands of Americans across our country. And he's thinking about that every day here at the White House. With every drug boat that is taken out by this administration, we are saving thousands of lives by deterring those drugs and stopping those drugs from flowing into our country. You will all, excuse me, you'll all hear, excuse me, you will all see the president tonight. He'll be making remarks at the Congressional Christmas Ball, which will be taking place here at the White House. And later this afternoon, he will be signing some congressional bills and executive orders that we, as always, will keep you apprised of. Thanks, guys.
Can you say a word about the call with Modi?
All right, ladies and gentlemen, that was a pretty good press conference. We got a lot of information. I do want to say, do not go anywhere because there is another big breaking news story that I want to talk about with you folks before we wrap up today's broadcast. We've got another probably 20 minutes or so. So, ladies and gentlemen, make sure to please follow, like, subscribe. It really does help a lot with the whole YouTube algorithm. Thank you very much. But this is a story that we just started to touch upon before Carolyn Levitt came out. This is a very important deal, and I want to talk about it. I want to raise awareness on this. I'm going to replay this again for you folks. Earlier this morning, Gavin Newsom posted a video. Gavin Newsom, he's top of the ticket. He's expected to win the Democratic 2028 presidential primary. He's an important guy, whether or not you like him. He is. He's top of the ticket. He himself, current governor of California, posted this AI-generated video earlier this morning, which shows Trump, Hegseth, and Stephen Miller in handcuffs. It says it's cuffing season, has them sitting on the side of a sidewalk here on the curb in the back of a police car crying. This is AI-generated. And then has them walking into a courthouse. They are detained. Ladies and gentlemen, we saw this during the 4-year-long Biden administration. They were criminally pursuing all of their political rivals, Trump supporters, even everyday conservative Americans, like random people like us. They were going hard. They were weaponizing the DOJ. They were weaponizing the CIA, FBI. We all know about Operation Arctic Frost. Now, this is what they were doing. And Gavin Newsom here, I mean, keep in mind, pretty much he's already on the campaign trail. Gavin Newsom is campaigning. He wants to become president. This message that he broadcast this morning, he is campaigning on this. He is saying this message here is, if you vote for me, 2028 Democrat presidential candidate, make me the president in 2028, I will lock up every single person that was a part of the Trump administration, and I will criminally pursue every single person that supported Trump. And by the way, we should believe him. When he says this, we should believe him because this is what they already tried to do during the Biden administration. We know that they're going to try to do this. They already tried to do it, and now they're promising again, we're going to do it again. Okay? And so Scott Jennings, we have a couple people around the country responding to this. Scott Jennings, everybody likes him. He says, this is what it will take to win the Democrat nomination in 2028. Nothing short of promising to jail Trump and every appointee will do. The Democrats, they actually want lawfare. They want to see Trump, his cabinet, his administration, us behind prison bars, inside of a prison cell. This is what a lot of them want. This is why we cannot allow them to win. This is why we can't allow them to win. And this is, of course, midterms, which is, by the way, 10 and a half, 11 months, less than a year from now. Midterms are important, but also more importantly, of course, the 2028 presidential election. The fate of the country is at stake. I know I say this every single time. I know we're at a time right now where, you know, you guys know me. I don't really get into the whole commentator, political commentator drama. I don't really do that. I don't really talk about Candace Owens said this, and then Tucker Carlson said that, and then Nick Fuentes said that. This is not really my thing. I like to talk about the news. However, I will say, I look to the right, I look to the left, I look up above. Everybody that is doing what I'm doing, they're not really talking politics anymore. It is just pretty much 24/7 drama, nonstop. We need to remember what is at stake here, okay? If these people, if these far left freaks, that's fine. You guys can critique other conservative commentators all you want all day. That's fine. If these far left radical progressive freaks get in control of this country again, it is over. It is game over. It is game over for a wide collective of individuals, the Trump administration, the cabinet members, maybe even people like you and me. It's over. But it's also over for the country. More importantly, it's over for the entire republic. They will open up the border. They're going to flood the country again with tens of millions of illegal aliens. It's over. I cannot stress that enough. We need to remain strong and stalwart. Peter Navarro, he chimes in. He says, I went to prison defending the Constitution because of woke a-holes like you, in response to Gavin Newsom, who weaponized our justice system. This isn't close to funny at all. All you are doing is inciting more violence. This is from Peter Navarro. Remember, Peter Navarro, he's a real ride or die loyalist. He went to jail for Trump. He refused to cooperate with the J6 committee. It was bogus. It was a whole farce. But he said, no, listen, I'm not coming and screw you. If that means I go to jail, so be it. I'll sit my ass in a prison cell. I'm not going along with this pony show here. And he went to jail. He fell on his sword for President Trump in defiance of the far left. Good for him. God bless. Patriot as far as I'm concerned. We have another one here. This is Steve Bannon. Same dynamic, same dynamic here. He chimed in on what's going on here with the Democrats in response to this video that Gavin Newsom posted. Take a look.
I believe the Democratic Party is as close to a terrorist organization as you can get, and if we start doing the real real investigations of this, they will be designated a terrorist organization. But
oh yeah,
what they've done to the United States, they plotted more so even than Muslim Brotherhood and CARE, right, and all these Islamic radical terrorist organizations, which are bad enough, and we got to get to the bottom of and get them out of the country. These people organized an invasion of our country. We got 15 to 20 million illegal alien invaders here that have destroyed the country, destroyed the economy, have destroyed the education system, particularly in inner cities for folks, destroyed the education system, the healthcare system, law and order, sanitation, and they specifically brought in people that would not acclimate to our culture and our society. It could not be assimilated. It did not want to be assimilated. And we're going to be arrogant about how they were not assimilated.
And so once again, I mean, in fact, yeah, this is where I've got an entire list here. I just want to run through this, ladies and gentlemen. Listen, hey, if the far left wins midterms, and more important than midterms, the 2028 presidential election, crack down on social media speech. They will crack down on social media speech. Yes, mass amnesty for 30 million illegal aliens. We, all of us conservatives right now, we're over here squabbling. Well, it's 1.5 million deportations. It's actually 2 million deportations. But we really need to see 5 million deportations. So I'm pissed off at Trump. That's what we're squabbling about right now. Yeah, how does a 30 million illegal alien amnesty package sound? Right now, we're squabbling out. We've gotten 2 million deportations in 1 year, but I wanted 5, and so I'm pissed off at President Trump right now. Put all of this into perspective. If the far left gets back in control of this country, not only are they reopening the border, they are granting mass amnesty to over 30 million illegal aliens. Kind of puts everything into perspective, doesn't it? They are going to end the filibuster. They will pack SCOTUS. They're going to add 12 new, seriously, I'm not kidding about this. They are planning on adding 12 new Supreme Court justices onto the Supreme Court to make sure that they can just start wiping their behind with the U.S. Constitution. That's on the agenda. Nationwide mail-in ballots plus no voter ID laws. That is what they want to do as well. We know that. They want to make Washington, D.C. and Puerto Rico states. You know why? It's not out of altruism. What they want to do is make D.C. and Puerto Rico states because these are far left areas, to say the least. What that will guarantee is 2 new Democrat senators for D.C. and 2 new Democrat senators for Puerto Rico. That's plus 4 senators for the Democrats, plus God knows how many House seats and Electoral College votes. They are planning on packing the states, packing the Supreme Court, packing the country with new amnesty illegal aliens. They want to abolish the Electoral College. They're going to industrially arrest MAGA voters, debank. I mean, it's crazy to think about. Listen, I don't want to make this about me. It's really not about me, but I'm just kind of thinking through this. There is a chance that if somebody like Gavin Newsom wins the White House in 3.5 years from now or 3 years from now, that maybe you too, I'm a commentator, I might lose my bank account. I might be debanked. I might be arrested because I am a pro-Trump, a pro-MAGA, pro-America First, conservative right-wing commentator. And we know what these far-left, radically progressive freaks have done. This is what they do. And if it can happen to me, it's happened to people in the past, it can happen to you too. The stakes are real. The stakes are real. They want to implement unlimited voting by mail and vote by phone. Pete Buttigieg, I believe it was Pete Buttigieg, he came out and said he wants every American to be able to vote by phone, to send a text message. I vote for Kamala Harris. Here's my text message. Boop, send it in. That is what they're pushing for. They want to lower the voting age to 16. If they nuke the filibuster, they can lower the voting age to 16. They want to allow illegal aliens to vote. They want to naturalize, grant amnesty for 30 million illegal aliens so that Republicans will never win another presidential election again. They want to congressionally solidify trans athletes, trans kids, trans healthcare, gender affirming care. They want to criminalize homeschooling. That's going to be off the table. Open borders permanently. They want to censor every single independent news channel, journalist, free thinker on the internet. That's us. That's all of us here right now. That's you. That's me. That's all of us on Rumble and on YouTube. This is what they want. Time and time again, they've shown this. And so I just want to put all this into perspective. This is the truth. All of us, we're over here squabbling about the ways in which we are unhappy, we're dissatisfied with Trump. He hasn't done enough. We demand more. Okay, that's fine, but listen, keep in mind it's okay to demand more. Seriously, it's okay. It's totally fine to say that Trump, we expect more here, we expect more there. That's fine. That's our patriotic obligation. We should do that. But it's important to remember the bigger picture, the real dynamic at play here, okay? Because if we become too depressive or black-pilled, as they say, if we become too downtrodden or defeated, then really, seriously, the republic is over. So that's the final message of the broadcast. Now, I do want to say something real quick here, folks. What do you say we have a little special surprise at the end of the show here today? I want to segue over to Rumble. There was a video that I have been meaning to watch on YouTube with you guys, but we actually cannot watch this on YouTube because it's a little bit of a sensitive topic. So we are going to wrap up the YouTube broadcast. We are going to segue everybody over to Rumble, Matt Morris TV on Rumble. The show is going to continue on Rumble exclusively, Matt Morris TV on Rumble. We're going to conclude the YouTube broadcast. We are going to watch Tyler Oliveira's brand new video talking about the Somalian situation in Minnesota. He was on the ground doing deep dive investigative reporting on the ground, talking to people in Minnesota, to the Somalians firsthand. We are going to take a look at that on Rumble exclusively. So I am going to wrap up the YouTube segment of the broadcast. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Great day, really great day. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, everybody. Space React, thank you very much. Yeah, it's true. You're right about that. Thank you. We're transitioning over to Rumble. Now we're going to really get a little bit spicy. Now the spicy segment. So I'll see everybody on Rumble. Thank you very much. And if you're on YouTube, then I'll see you later today. I'll have a video or another live broadcast for you. See you soon on YouTube. But now it's time for the Rumble segment. Matt Morris TV on Rumble. Thank you very much.